I've just had this amazing moment where I've cleaned up my room and managed to get every single one of my books onto my bookshelves. I no longer have any books loitering around my room. This is a miraculous moment right here. Hi guys, my name is Kirsty and welcome to Upside Down Books. Today I'm going to be doing a really exciting thing of doing a book review for you guys, and that will be of Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. If you watched my last video, you will have seen that I was talking about this in my favourite books of this year so far, so I'm excited to share all of my thoughts in some further detail for you guys. And privileges to you guys, I haven't done my written review of this yet, so you are the first to hear my thoughts on this book. I'm going to give you all the facts to start with about the book, and then we're going to move on to what I actually thought of the plot and the characters and the narration and all of that jazz. Outlander is a fictitious novel written by the author Diana Gabaldon. Diana Gabaldon is an American author who was born in 1952 and has done a whole lot of writing. Outlander is book one in a, at the moment, 9-book series and is one of at least 15 books that Gabaldon has written. Like, she must have some seriously strong finger muscles because she must just be like typing away like there's no tomorrow. Outlander was first published in June of 1991, which makes it quite an old book and quite popular. It's sort of like Game of Thrones. It's like this throwback to like 20-something years ago, and it's all the rage right now thanks to a TV series. Thank God for TV, huh? In its standard paperback format, it is about 627 pages long. However, if you dabble into the trade paperback size, which are the ones that are like that big, it's more like 800 and something. It's like one of the shorter ones of the series, but it's still a very solid 600 and something pages of many words and descriptions and glorious moments. I listened to the audiobook version, so this review is going to be quite centered around the audiobook performance and experience itself. The audiobook was published by Recorded Books in July of 2006 and is narrated by a lovely narrator called Davina Porter. Its total length, unabridged, is 32 hours and 43 minutes. Genre-wise, it falls into the historical fiction category with a little twang of sci-fi thanks to some time traveling that is basically the center of the plot. So actually the sci-fi is pretty important when you think about it. Setting-wise, we are in the Scottish Highlands, but I'll be getting into that with a little bit more detail in just a moment. Moving our gaze on to the Goodreads spectrum, we can have a look at how well this book is doing in the world. Let me tell you, it has 644,079 ratings on Goodreads, which is a very large amount, although not as big as books like Harry Potter and what's that other one called? The Fault in Our Stars. But 644,000 reviews, and its average rating is 4.21 stars out of 5. Personally, I rated it 5 out of 5 stars, and it is on my all-times favourite list, which if you're interested in, I will again leave a link down below so you guys can go check out my full list on Goodreads of the best books I have ever read in my entire life. So that is Outlander. It's an incredible book, it's quite daunting with its reputation, and it makes you worried when you're going into reading it that you're not going to like it, and maybe it's all just a hype and an old fandom that you can't break down the door and walk into, but no, that's not the case. You're gonna fall in love with this, and you're gonna be so grateful that you've read it. If you don't know, and you haven't watched a TV series and you haven't talked to any friends who've read it, Outlander is obviously historical fiction set in the Scottish Highlands following a character called Claire. Claire is about post-World War I, World War II time. I literally have already forgotten which war. Oh god, I'm a terrible reviewer. Claire is married to a lovely man called Frank, and he's a scholar, and he's like the most super nerd about history and his own like personal history you could ever know. Claire tags along really nicely. She's a very intelligent woman, and during the war she was a nurse, so she has a medical background. On one of their trips they discover this sort of Stonehenge-like structure, not Stonehenge, but bear with me, and she revisits this place later by herself and accidentally basically goes through a time portal that takes her back to 200 years previously in the same location, and she's like, oh f***. Not knowing how she got there, where she is, what's happening, and being very confused by the time periods originally, she gets swept in with this Scottish clan of highwaymen. They're not highwaymen. And basically just is living this double life for the rest of the book, and it's bloody brilliant. The plot is centered around Claire kind of deciding how much information she should really let people know and working out whether she can get back home, and the question becomes, really, does she want to get back home? It's this conflict between Jamie Fraser and Frank. So Claire faces the issue of being British, having a very obvious British accent, but being in Scots land, and they're obviously very suspicious that she might be a spy. She has a run-in with a British officer called Randall, and later down the line, it's very obvious from step one that he is one of Frank's ancestors. So the stakes are heightened by the fact that she has some very bad memories from Randall, and when she looks at him though, she thinks of Frank. So she's beginning to associate Frank with bad things. But now we've got Jamie, and it's just like, oh my god, what is this book? And obviously you want to go back, but the more you read it, the more you're like, no, wait, why would Claire want to leave this amazing place that she's found? So that is essentially the plot line of the story, is that Claire is 200 years out of her time and kind of not totally hating it. So more specifically, we'll have a quick look at the characters of Claire and Jamie now. Claire is a young woman, very independent, magnificent, what a hero, I wish I was Claire. With her medical background, she kind of slips seamlessly into the society of the time and helping them out with the medicine that she has available at the time. She's very good at it because obviously she's seen a lot of things, and she's very good with facing blood and horrific situations because she was a war doctor. So yeah, she's very good and not fazed by anything, and just taking it like a champ. And from the get-go, we have a very tense relationship between Claire and Jamie. We know that Jamie is like, oh, you just know he's that roguish that she's gonna get with. And from the very first scene when she has to put his shoulder back in because it's dislocated, you're like, yep, these two are gonna have a love-hate relationship, and we are going to love every second of the angst. I love Jamie. I think Jamie is a really, really strong and well-done male character. He's very, very loyal, and the sort of mystery that surrounds him, because we don't know Jamie's background, is just so enthralling, and you're like, okay, I'm hooked, just tell me his past already. But it's very much so like they're quite comparable characters at the end of the day, because they both have a past they're not talking about, they're both holding back secrets, and they both have reasons to feel the animosity of the people at Lallybroch because of reasons you're going to read and all find out. But it just makes it a very interesting read because you have such an interesting plot and such complex characters to back it up with. Alright, so let's just take a step back now, and I want to look at how well the book actually works as a whole in regards to its plot. I think simple answer is it works brilliantly. The more complex answer is that it's very waffly and there's a lot of descriptions. You're kind of having like Tolkien triggers here, and you're like, oh god, we're gonna get the backstory of this tree branch now. But it's not quite that bad. It's all almost necessary. Like 80% of the backstories, the descriptions, and everything you get in there is all relevant to the storyline, because you just know that you are getting the foundation stone of one of the most complex series you're gonna read. When I first started reading it, the thing I was questioning about the plot the most, I was going, what is the plot of Outlander? And I know I've just explained it, but when you first start reading it, it's kind of like, well, what the hell is the story going to be? Clearly, the story should be that Claire escapes these people because she doesn't care about these people. They're just kind of where she's ended up, and she goes back to her husband. But the plot, it sort of just slowly builds and builds and builds on itself, and the more that Claire becomes invested in the current time period she's in the 19th century, the more that she finds it impossible to leave, because she has such a complicated double life now. It's not a simple question of just getting back home. And yeah, that's definitely a bit obscure to start with. You're trying to work out exactly where the book is heading, why it's heading, and trying not to be like, why am I reading this book? What is the point of this book? But the more you read it, the more it becomes confusing, and therefore the more the plot line becomes clear. The politics throughout the book is just such a beautiful mess and like a beautiful reflection of the time, and I love all the second guessing that Claire has, knowing the future essentially, because she knows her past, having been married to Frank, who was so invested in his past, which is obviously highly relevant. There was actually only one bit of the entire book that I didn't really like and was like, why did we waste 30 minutes of an audiobook on this scene? It's not a spoiler, it does happen towards the end of the book, but it's a scene where Claire is fighting some wolves. That's all I'm going to say about it. If you've read the book, I'd love to know your thoughts on that. I genuinely thought I must have gotten distracted because it seemed entirely pointless to everything. It was no backstory, it was nothing that was helping anyone. She would have got where she was going without it anyway, and it was just this whole super elaborate physical and mental battle with a bloody wolf that just sort of popped out of nowhere, and I was like, what? Other than that though, pretty happy with all of the everything that happened. Moving on to the performance. So the performance specifically with the audiobook was absolutely bloody fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Recorded Books has done a fantastic job creating this audiobook. Granted, it's already like over 10 years old, this audiobook, but it was done really well. I think Davina Porter was a perfect choice. When you look on Audible, there's a lot of complaints that Davina Porter is too old and her voice is too stuffy for the strong-headed Claire, and I think those reviews are probably coming from people who've watched the series and already have like got an idea of what they want from Claire. I've not seen the series, so I didn't have that. Went in fresh, loved it. She did a fantastic job on accents for both British and Scottish, absolutely brilliant, and I think she did a really good job distinguishing between male and female voices as well. It got to the point towards the end of the book where I just stopped hearing a voice actor and it was just Jamie Fraser. And the benefit of listening to it on the audiobook is sidestepping the issue of trying to work out how the Gaelic pronunciation is going to go for those things, and things like knowing that Lallybroch is pronounced like Lallybroch and not Lallybroch or something like that. Fantastic performance, literally my favourite, I'm not going to say favourite audiobook because Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix was right up there, that was really good. But point aside, one of the best audiobook performances. I would say if you're like me and you really want to read it but you haven't got the time to buy the book and actually read it and you've just got so many other books, get it on the audiobook and listen to it whilst you're doing all your other chores around the house and just slowly pick away at it, and yeah, it's a great way to read it. Highly recommend. That being said, moving on to the final question of will I be continuing the series? The answer is an absolute 100% yes. I have already purchased the second book in the series, Dragonfly and Amber, as an audiobook, and I'm so excited to dive into that one. I positively could not walk away from this series at this point, and I will totally be getting into the TV series as well, without a doubt. Okay, that is all I have for you today with my thoughts on Outlander. I hope you enjoyed my review today and I hope you're going to read it. I would love, absolutely love to know what you guys thought of it, so let me know down in the comments below if you've read the book, what you rated it, what you thought you loved, what you hated. I just would love to know. And yeah, that's all my thoughts. I'm done, so I'm gonna wrap it up. If you want a written review to revise all my thoughts or whatever, I will have that up on my blog in the coming weeks. So that'll be at ozbooksnail.com, so make sure you go over and check that out, and you can subscribe so that you get notifications whenever I put up new content. Other than that, I will say goodbye. So thank you for watching my video today, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!